listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 114. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where I show you how life with less alcohol is more fun than you think. I work with high achievers who struggle to drink a glass of wine without it turning into 2 bottles. I'm the one they call when they want to take it or leave it. So if you want to change your relationship with alcohol that doesn't involve counting days sober, you're in the right place. Hello everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Before I get into today's topic, and it is a good one, I promise, I want to make a short announcement. I want to let you know I'm building a community called Drinking Redefined, where the focus is on creating a life you're obsessed with, not a life obsessed with alcohol. It's the place where I'm going to be creating freedom and peace around alcohol through accountability and connection. I'm going to be posting all my tips, techniques, and articles there. And it's also where I'm going to be hosting my workshops, challenges. I've got a great one lined up for March, and other community events. You can find Drinking Redefined at annacharles.substack.com. I hope you'll sign up and I'll see you there. Okay, so to today's content, I've named this Your Reasons Rule. And you might be wondering, what on earth does she mean by that? Well, I want you to ask yourself, how many times have you said to yourself, I drink too much? I have all the reasons why I drink too much, and yet I never seem to learn. How many times do you feel like this constant failure, right? Say, why can't I ever learn? And how many times do you secretly fear that you won't? I was stuck there forever, it seemed. Now, what I want to offer is this is not your fault. We live in a society that glamorizes and normalizes drinking. Think about it. You can't watch a TV show without every day the characters seem to end up with a drink, right? On all the shows that everyone's drinking, boom, you're triggered. I've often talked about how I used to be triggered by the characters in EastEnders when they went to the pub. I think, well, that sounds like a good idea. But really, the socialization of alcohol is everywhere. This past weekend, I went with my husband to play mini golf or crazy golf. Love it. Really a lot of fun there. And they gave us a score sheet and we're going down the scores, filling in each round, how many shots and so on. And there, after hole 11, there is a saying on the sheet. And actually, I need to find it. Give me a second here. Pull it up here. And it says, take a break and enjoy a refreshing cocktail. Right. Now, obviously, it is not an order. You were allowed to move straight on to the next hole. But when I saw that, I was thinking of people who maybe struggle with this. I was thinking of how my clients, before we worked together, would have shown up to this. And, you could think, right, we're going to go and play mini golf. That'll be great. It's out and about. It's a healthy activity. Feeling good about this. And then you might read that statement on the score sheet and boom, you're triggered. You're right there. You're thinking, yeah, maybe that is a good idea. And a refreshing cocktail, yeah. Or maybe if they haven't got a cocktail, maybe I could have wine. Maybe that's allowed too. And then you're into the chatter. When before you were totally fine. And now just that association, you're back into the chatter. So this is everywhere, right? This is the world we live in. But here's what I believe. Passionately, with every fiber of my being, you deserve to have techniques and strategies that help you feel in control and to trust yourself, even if you're just going to play an innocuous game of mini golf at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I can help you find those moments and give you the techniques, and we are going to cover one of them today. I have called it Your Reasons Rule. So along with living in this society that glamorizes and normalizes alcohol, everywhere you look, there are going to be people telling you what to drink. There are government guidelines, right? As your spouse, he or she might have their view on what you should or should not be drinking. There are your friends, maybe your parents, maybe your children, right? All these people have got all these guidelines coming around from everywhere. And even if they're only guidelines, you can end up feeling a little bit helpless if you don't meet them, right? The number of people I speak with, when they say, I know what the government guideline is and that's healthy and this isn't unhealthy, and I just can't seem to meet it. We also use these guidelines against us, and we say, well, I should know what the healthy quantity is to drink, but I actually don't know. And maybe you're afraid because if you did know, you'd find that you would be breaching it, and then that would send you off into a whole other tailspin. So no wonder when we have all of this going on, this is how we're living our lives. We see all these rules everywhere. No wonder if we aren't able to comply or force ourselves to comply, right? We say things like, well, why don't I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I screw up again? Will I never learn? I used to feel so embarrassed about this. I was capable. I am capable, but I was very capable then. And I actually knew that all I had to do was not drink the drink, right? I actually had to do less. It was actually less effort to do what I wanted than to have the drink, which involved all the pouring or the chatter and everything else, right? And that was it. It's very simple. It wasn't like I was preparing a presentation for an important customer or dealing with a sensitive employee issue in my team, or I wasn't having to think of ways to make my budget stretch further at work so we could maximize the company's return. For heaven's sake, I mean, it was none of that. It was simply me saying no to something that I knew was bad for me. I was surrounded by people who were saying, if this is such a deal for you, Anna, all you've got to do is just say no. And it all seemed so logical. It all seemed to make sense, which of course made it even more embarrassing. I felt even more guilty and depressed about the whole thing because, not only do you know what to do, not only is it actually quite obvious what you have to do, but you know there's a good reason for it and still you're not doing it, right? But here's the thing. Telling myself that I had to do it for X, Y, Z reason, right? Maybe because it makes you healthy or because it's the right thing to do, whatever the reason was, that reason worked for me sometimes, and sometimes it motivated me for sure, but often it didn't. And then I realized, and I was sort of a bit confused by this, why could I feel so motivated sometimes and so motivated at others when I was dealing with the guidelines and the rules and what other people were telling me. And I was seeking out their advice, I was seeking out their opinion, and they were just telling me with love what they thought I needed to do. And then I realized what was happening. The issue was that I was telling myself I had to do something based on what someone else was telling me. I wasn't my reason. I had just adopted somebody else's, whether that was my husband's or the government's or my friends or, my neighbors or the bar manager who said, go on, have another one, it won't hurt. And maybe that's you, right? Maybe you are trying to adopt these other external guidelines and rules, and that's why it's not working, because they're not yours. So here's what I want you to do if this is you. I want you to get to know your reason, right? That's my message for today. Your reasons rule. There are no good reasons. There are no bad reasons. There are just your reasons. I want you to choose your reason. Why are you doing this work? Why do you want to change? Why are you listening to my podcast week after week? Totally up to you. It can be a meaningful reason. Maybe because you want to be a better role model to your children. You don't want them to see you. They're growing up now. You don't want them to see you zoned out on the wine, getting tipsy every evening at dinner. It can be a superficial reason. Maybe your face maybe it puffs up a little bit and you go a bit red. Maybe your skin goes a bit shiny when you've been drinking and you don't like the way that looks. All right, you don't want to look that way and you think that's a really superficial reason, but this is totally up to you. It doesn't really matter. Above all else, whatever your reason is for deciding to change your relationship with alcohol, I want it to be one that you like. You personally like. You and you alone. This is critical. And here is why. I speak to people about this all the time, and I remember this very clearly, right? That it often feels like we have an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other, and they're both whispering into our ear. And it becomes this battle of wills. Should I drink? Shouldn't I drink? Drink, don't drink. I remember this so strongly, right? Trying to be good and trying to be good all day. Sort of, we know how it goes. We wake up feeling va-va-voom, today's going to be different, ready to face the day and the challenges of the evening. It's okay, I've decided I'm not going to drink tonight. I can do this. Now, this kind of thinking is incredibly motivating when it works. Right? When everything falls into place, when you're really motoring and you're feeling good about yourself and your choices, this can really get you through. But this can often feel like a double-edged sword. It can feel a struggle, sometimes at the same time even, especially again if it's somebody else's definition. Right? If you've got to do this, you've got to figure out your drinking. Right? If your husband or wife is saying you're drinking too much, or maybe if a friend of yours has decided they want to change your drinking and you're just going to go along with it, right? But what's going to happen is you are human, you are going to slide, you're going to have a bad day. And that's when all these reasons, if you don't like them, if they're not yours, if you're not crafted them for you, they're not going to do the trick. They're not going to be enough. And we're going to have a sod it moment, and then we're going to swing to listening to the devil on our shoulder. We say things like, well, that's it. I want to rebel. I'm a grown up. If I'm going to have a drink if I want one, I don't care. Who cares? Who cares that I said I wasn't going to? Who cares if it's not going to help me? Who cares? I'm just going to do it now. It's kind of like we're having a bit of a strop. We're stamping our foot. Even if we know deep down this is not what we want, right? We end up going to the other extreme. So what if it's bad? I want to be bad. I'm fed up of being good. I've been good all day. I've had to deal with all these difficult people. I've had to be polite and listen all day to everyone else. I had to give all my all at work, and then I had to come home and I had to look after the children and get the dinner and I don't want to deal with any of that. So then we take the reason that we had adopted, right, because we want to be good, and then we flip-flop over to the reverse. Because here's what happens. There comes a point when we don't enjoy being good. We want to be bad. But then we get the negative consequences. We don't enjoy being bad and we decide we need to be good. So we keep seesawing from one extreme to the other, and it's exhausting. So this is where your reasons rule comes into play. I'm offering an alternative approach. It's where you only have to answer to yourself. Now, I am not saying to ignore and totally flagrantly go against all advice and all health recommendations or guidelines, or not to listen to anyone in your life. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you can go out and drink 10 pints of vodka if that's what you want, because we know that's not what you want. But I'm just saying that I want whatever reason you give to yourself for wanting to drink less tonight, or wanting to say no to the wine, or wanting to have a go at being alcohol free for once, or whatever it is, make that reason your own. Decide what you want, whether it's to drink or not, and then back yourself to follow that. Because remember, you're the one who's setting the guidelines here, right? There's no one to rebel against, because you're rebelling against you. And even when I coach with people, I don't tell them what they need to drink this, drink that, because at some point, if you don't take this on for yourself, there will be rebellion, and that does not help. Something that used to help me when I was doing this, when I was thinking up my reasons and why it was important for me, what would carry me through, right, being willing to take the action. And this is going to sound a little mad, maybe. It's going to sound a little crazy, but hey, this is Anna's way. And by the way, I still use this in other areas of my life where I might have struggles, so I don't have that with drinking anymore. I would remember that I am the supreme ruler of planet me. So you, my lovely listener, listening to this, you are the supreme ruler of planet you. There is only one ruler. It is only you. That's it. You get to decide what you do and why you do it. Now, this might include agreeing with your wife or your husband or your children if they're worried about your drinking, right? They might have a word with you and you might think, actually, I agree with that. I like that reason. That feels good to me. And maybe just having that level of concern and love and connection, maybe that's what you want, but it's totally up to you. Right? You might choose to adopt a friend's reason for cutting back. You might think, well, that's a really good approach. I'm going to do that. But see the difference? You're not doing it because you're told to, because you should. Choosing is such an important concept, because when you truly and utterly make something a choice, you have the opportunity to put yourself first. This is the ultimate in self-care. I have other episodes on self-care you might want to go and check back into. And self-care is so important. It really means looking after yourself, right? Self-care can sound a bit woo, but it's really looking after yourself. Why does it matter so much? Why does all this matter so much? Doing it this way, having choice and putting yourself first and liking your reasons, whatever they are. It's because when you do like your reason, you are in charge. You will accept being in charge of yourself, and there will be no beating yourself up. You're in control. You decide, you move forward. You're taking full responsibility. You just will. And please hear me on this. Please, wherever you are right now, however old you are, however long you've been trying to figure this out, whatever you might see when you look at your life right now, you deserve to step into this version of you, into being the supreme ruler of planet you. You deserve to feel in charge of your life. You deserve to not worry and fret about how you're going to get through the day with all the alcohol around. And in my experience, be feeling in charge of your life and ready to just go with it and just let rip and really create that life you want. In my experience, that begins anew when you change how you interact with alcohol. It's going to open up a life you didn't know existed. Even if you think you have an inkling now of how it's going to be when you're not constantly debating with yourself whether to drink or not, right? Even if you think, I think that's what I'm going to be like. Believe me when I say it's even more incredible than you can ever imagine. And I cannot wait for you to experience that. And if you work with me, we'll get to experience it together and more quickly than if you're continuing with your do-it-yourself approach that maybe you've been trying for years and not getting much traction with. Okay, in summary, figure out why you're doing this work. Why changing a relationship with alcohol is important enough for you to actually devote time and energy to it. Why are you interested in it? How do you feel about those reasons? And if those questions are just too big, you just don't know how to answer them, then start with this one instead. Why are you tuning in to listen to this podcast? What is this offering? What are you getting from it? And how is it helping you to take action? Which will get round to why this is important for you. And again, if you want my help with this is what I do day in, day out. I help people create peace and freedom around alcohol quickly. You will not spend years doing this. Then let's talk. Go to 90dayslater.co and get a slot on my calendar. You'll feel different simply after that one call. All right, that's it for now, and I will see you next week. If you like what you're learning in the podcast and you want to take the work further and achieve total freedom around alcohol, let's talk. I help my clients stop reaching for that first glass of wine the moment 6 p.m. rolls around and they don't miss out on life. Email me for more information on anna@90dayslater.co. And if you did enjoy the show, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review to help others find the 90 Days Later podcast.